I can't run anymore. I've sped from the bathroom, down the stairs, through the dining room, and into the kitchen. There's no way out, and I am faced with inevitable doom. Now, I don't want to brag, but I'm pretty smart for a 4-year-old, so instead of running away, I decide to defend myself. Top, bottom, right, and left. I interlock my kitchen drawers to create a barrier that protects me from my enemy. Bath time. My mom runs into the kitchen, soap in hand, and just stops. My absolute, just pure intelligence as a 4-year-old puzzles her. She tries to undo my fort of kitchen drawers, but just as quickly as she does, I build it back up. I've won. My kitchen drawer fort stuck with me the entire time I lived in my childhood home. Not only did I discover it was the quickest way to unload the dishwasher, but it also provided me with an emotional sanctuary. I needed that because as a kid, crying had always made me feel weak. When I was, I hid so I could be at peace. But you see, I'm also an attention lover, so I needed to be in the center of everything. I could never be fully isolated. At my house, that meant the kitchen and the safety of my drawers. Completely covered, yet still in the middle of the house, I could cry, alone, but still seen. Fast forward some years into the future, it's Thanksgiving break of my junior year, and I have realized that isolation is not something I can always avoid. It's pitch black outside, and this pool is freezing. Am I all alone in a huge pool at 11 p.m.? Yeah, but my parents told me to make use of every free resource I have, and that includes the pool at this hotel. Immigrant mentality. I'm 16 now, and the past few months have been difficult, to say the least. I'm just lost. I'm filled with this deep, dark sadness, constant anxiety, countless panic attacks filled with hyperventilating, crying, and pacing around. My grades drop, I'm barely getting out of bed, and I'm alternating from getting either 16 hours of sleep to 3. I'm void of motivation and just full of despair. I know, sounds healthy, right? So as I sit in this pool, I decide that this is the moment I'm gonna change my life. I just need to work on myself. I decide to push past all negative feelings, force my happiness. Maybe if I just push myself, the depression and anxiety will simply stop. Yeah, that mindset couldn't have been further from the truth. The weeks after I sat in that pool, I tried my hardest to get out of bed and be productive, and it didn't work. I got up at 7, focused on my online classes, turned in all my homework on time, but I was still sad. If working my hardest to get better didn't work, was I ever going to be okay? I felt like a failure. I felt like I was incapable. It's a few months into the future, and I'm working on an English essay that's a pretty decent chunk of my grade. And of course, I left it to the last day to actually, sit down and write the thing. But despite several panic attacks, I got through it. I pushed myself to put out an essay that I could be satisfied with. I used my willpower as I promised myself in that pool. So why didn't I feel better? Shouldn't I feel relieved? Relief was honestly something that I hadn't felt in a while. No matter how much I accomplished or how hard I worked, I just didn't feel good. And even though I was seeking professional help, my therapist and I knew I needed something more. Sertraline, escitalopram, gabapentin, quetiapine, propranolol. I spent 8 months with my psychiatrist trying to find the right medication and diagnosis that worked for me, to no avail. When it comes to mental health, a diagnosis can be relieving. It gives you a better understanding of what's wrong and sets you on the right path for treatment. Now, thankfully, I'm very lucky to have a very involved family. Once my aunt found out that I wasn't feeling too hot, she decided to refer me to her friend, a neuropsychiatrist. And after a 4-hour-long conversation, I finally got my diagnosis: bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a lifelong cyclical mood disorder in which people alternate from depressive lows to manic highs. No one really knows what causes it, but it's thought to be a combination of genetics, chemistry, brain structure, and environment. Not an easy diagnosis to be stuck with, right? Now, the first thing I thought of when I heard bipolar disorder was Kanye West. His cyclical ups and downs may have provided us with some of the most genius music of this generation. I mean, who else could get millions of people to stream a song that rhymes poop with scoop for a minute straight? Now, despite Kanye's intellect and creativity, I was trying to emulate his genius, not the bipolar. But the realization that this was something I was going to deal with for the rest of my life motivated me to work with the difficulty of depression and mania, rather than let it swallow me whole like the weeks following the pool incident. Now, what I failed to realize that moment in the pool and after my essay is that willpower is never enough. Just like a physical injury requires time and healing and support, so does working through mental illness. You can't just force yourself out of a chemical imbalance or a mood disorder. It takes an understanding of your feelings. Now, what you can rely on to get better is being vulnerable with the people you trust. It's difficult, but it truly means having a community that supports you, helps you when you're feeling down. For me, telling my parents that I was depressed was arguably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. They worked so hard to move to a new country, to set up a good life for me, and it was heartbreaking to tell them that I didn't want it anymore. I felt ungrateful. But it also opened me up to the support that actually helped me get better. By being vulnerable and sharing my feelings, I was able to work towards a happier life and better mental state. Opening up also introduced me to the people who clarified the difference between willpower and resilience. Now, there's a clear difference between the two. Willpower is trying to push past how you're feeling in order to achieve what you want in the short run. In doing so, you're ignoring the gravity of your emotions. Your emotions matter. It is so important to be at peace with them in order to feel happy and healthy. Now, willpower is obsolete, but resilience isn't. Resilience is understanding yourself, taking breaks when you need to, listening to your limits, opening yourself up to a community that supports you, and bouncing back when you feel prepared. It's using the support of those around you to bear the weight on your shoulders. Getting better and feeling healthier isn't simply a matter of just pushing yourself. It's understanding your feelings through time and people that you trust. Although I may be bipolar, it doesn't define me. Through hard work and tough times, I've realized that a one-track mind focused on simply getting over it isn't going to work. I better understand how to prioritize myself and my mental health in order to stay happy and healthy. And although I may be bipolar, I'm also resilient. That's the key to getting better. Thank you.